February has come and gone, bringing us 1 month closer to the start of the 2023 Canadian Premier League season. And while in terms of transfers in the Canadian Premier League, February was not as busy as a month as January or December were, there still were a couple very significant moves in the league. All of these significant moves seem to be centered around 3 teams, all in the eastern region of the Canadian Premier League. But without further ado, these are the biggest transfers from the CPL in February. We'll start things off with York United bringing in centre back Brem Soumaroro. Soumaroro follows a trend of York bringing in experienced defenders who have experience playing in Europe following the signings of Clement Bailliha and Lassana Faye. Soumaroro, like Faye, has spent most of his club career in the Netherlands, having played for various teams in the Dutch second division between 2014 and 2021. In 2021, he moved to PAEK in the Cypriot first tier, the top division of football in Cyprus, and played out the 2021-2022 European season there. Also of note, Soumaroro is a Liberian international, having made 8 appearances for the Liberian international team since 2021. So another defender who has a lot of experience in Europe or in higher level leagues than the CPL coming to York United, but another one who's still significantly younger than 30, in or entering their prime, as this seems to be the type of player that York is targeting. Guys in their mid-20s that have experience playing in European leagues like the Dutch second division, maybe even some experience in the Dutch top division. This is the second guy from the Netherlands that they've gone with a lot of experience in the Netherlands that they've gone and got in this offseason, coming in to bolster up York's defense specifically with their first 2 signings, with their first 2 major signings from abroad being fullbacks, and now at center back, it seems like York is going for a more experienced look in the back 4 and leaving the youth up the pitch. With his experience abroad, I could see Soumaroro being a very capable Zator replacement for York and a key piece of their back line. Sticking with York United, we have another CPL to MLS Next Pro transfer. Chrisnovic N'sa has left York United, signing with Huntsville City FC. Now, N'sa is a CPL OG, having been in the league since the 2019 season, having played the 2019 and 2020 seasons with the Halifax Wanderers, and then 2021 and 2022 with York United. A natural fullback, N'sa moves to Huntsville City FC following Isaiah Johnston, which makes him the second young Canadian player from York United to go from York United to Huntsville City this offseason. Now, I've looked for a connection between Huntsville City and York United. I haven't found anyone. I'm sure someone who's more connected than me will know the reasoning why it seems like there's now a York United to Huntsville pipeline being created, but this is just another good move for a guy who's trying to get himself into a position to break into MLS. At 24 years old, N'sa is at a point where he needs to make a step up to get himself into a position to be showcased, to be able to move up to the big league in Major League Soccer, and hopefully the move to MLS Next Pro will do that for him as he looks to follow in the footsteps of guys like Mo Farsi, who did the CPL to MLS Next Pro to MLS pipeline. Sticking with the theme of defenders for this month, the Halifax Wanderers signed Canadian center back Ryan James over the course of February. Ryan James is a 28-year-old from Mississauga who spent a bit of time in the TFC Academy in 2012 before choosing to go the college route in the US, playing for the Bowling Green Falcons in the NCAA between 2012 and 2015. Following his NCAA college career, he went and signed with the Rochester Rhinos in the USL, playing in the USL now since 2016. Since 2016, when he signed with the Rhinos, he's been in the USL, now USL Championship, for the past 6 years, racking up 184 regular season appearances for 4 separate teams in the USL/USL Championship, and 201 appearances across all competitions. An experienced center back in the USL, this is a big get for Halifax, as the USL is a league that is being treated as a step up from the CPL. Daniel Crutzen just went there as a step up. Other CPL players have gone to the USL Championship in an effort to make more money and move their career forward. So for Ryan James to go from the USL to the CPL for Halifax, that is a huge signing. This is a guy who will definitely be a very, very solid center back in the Canadian Premier League and be a massive part of Halifax's defense this season. And now we have 3 last transfers, all of which are to Ottawa, 2 of which, funny enough, coming from the 2 teams that I've already mentioned. Ottawa, in the month of January, had a bit of a tough go, losing Balu Tabla to the Turkish 2nd Division, losing Brian Wright to York United. Coming out of January, this was an Ottawa team that was weaker than the team that they had last season, significantly weaker than the team that they had last season. And it was obvious that they were going to have to make some moves just to get back to the level that they were at last season. And my God, did they make moves. First off, Noah Verhoeven signs with Ottawa, having last season played for York United. Verhoeven at 23 is a guy who has been in the CPL since the beginning, played the first 2 seasons of Pacific, the second 2 seasons with York, and has just been a very impressive midfielder in the Canadian Premier League the whole way through. All the way through, he's a guy who is a regular, trustworthy starter in the CPL, and he basically always has been that. So for Ottawa to go and sign him, especially from a rival in York, is a massive get. And I'm sure that's a little sweet for Ottawa fans, getting a bit of revenge for York taking Brian Wright away from them. York takes Brian Wright from Ottawa, Ottawa takes Noah Verhoeven from York. The second major move that Ottawa did this month was take John Aniel-Assi on loan from Montreal. John Aniel-Assi is an 18-year-old prospect for CF Montreal. He made 1 appearance for them back in the 2020 CONCACAF Champions League before spending the 2022 CPL season on loan with Cavalry FC. He just turned 18 back last August, so this is his first full season as an adult coming up. A guy who's primed for a breakout, a very, very talented young winger. That's a huge get for Ottawa, and that basically right there is your Balu Tabla replacement. Not as experienced as Balu Tabla, not as grown up as Balu Tabla, but John Aniel-Assi is a guy with a very, very bright future, and it'll be very exciting to see if he can continue to build off of what was a pretty good performance in the Canadian Premier League last season for Cavalry, and now get even better with Ottawa this season as he continues to grow and mature. Finally, what might be the most significant intra-Canadian Premier League move ever. Ottawa bought, not signed, bought Samuel Salter from Halifax Wanderers, paying a transfer fee. Now, I'm not 100% sure on this, but this looks like the first ever intra-league transfer fee paid in the Canadian Premier League. Now, Salter is a 22-year-old striker who played the past 2 seasons in the CPL with Halifax Wanderers, scoring 11 goals last season, which put him 4th in league scoring. He was only 2 goals off the Golden Boot in the end, and it was a bit under the radar in that regard because the De Rosario versus Pasillas race for number 2 was very hot the whole season, and obviously Alejandro Diaz was huge until he got transferred, and then he kind of had the lead and held on to it for the rest of the season. But Samuel Salter finished number 4 right behind those guys in honestly what was probably the quietest 10+ goal season in CPL history. Salter moving to Ottawa definitely is what they expect to make up for the loss in goals that they had by losing Tabla and Wright so far in the offseason. You now bring in Samuel Salter, who's one of the more promising young strikers in the Canadian Premier League. And with him now having Ollie Bassett feeding him, the Golden Boot race just got very interesting. So, while the loss of Balu Tabla definitely stings, you can definitely see that the pieces in play for Atletico Ottawa to have improved despite that loss are starting to fit in. And it's looking like Ottawa is a team that is aiming to stay in the championship race for this season, and they're a team that so far with what they've built this offseason, I could definitely see it happening. And of course the Halifax Wanderers get a transfer fee out of this. Good for them. No one knows how much it is. It's probably like less than $200,000, but nice for Halifax to get a transfer fee. Always nice when you collect a transfer fee. But this is something that I think we could expect to start seeing more in the Canadian Premier League as the wealthier teams in the league start to separate themselves for the teams that maybe have a little bit less money. Obviously, Ottawa has that huge backing being owned by Atletico Madrid. So them making transfer fees and paying transfer fees to other CPL teams, especially given the potential they saw for this team to grow with the attendance in their playoff matches last year, it makes sense for them to go all in to try and just galvanize that city and get as much attendance in regular season games as possible and be as good as possible. So overall, a huge move for Ottawa and a huge 3 moves for Ottawa, as they definitely win February for CPL transfers. However, the whole offseason remains to be seen. Definitely a weird offseason for CPL transfers though, as yes, other teams, specifically Vancouver, made quite a few signings, but a lot of them were under the radar. Halifax went and brought in a couple more guys from the Vaughan Azzurri, obviously following their new coach. And Forge still has done nothing this offseason. There's one more full month of offseason. Training camp has started, and Forge has brought in no one new and has lost a couple of guys whose contracts ended and they let go. So this last month of the CPL offseason is going to have some big moves, obviously, as there's a lot of teams that still don't have fully filled out rosters going into the 2023 season. So it's going to be really interesting to see in March. I can tell there's going to be some big moves in March. Already rumors of big names in the CPL like Caden Chun coming back, potentially going to Vancouver. So the whole month of March is going to be real fun for CPL transfers. So that is for this video. As always, if you'd like to hit like, if you want to do more stuff, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, link is down below in the description, and I will see you next time.